Hello and welcome to today's episode on Westfox. I am your humble host, joined, wow, I cannot speak today, joined by Shepard. And we are going to talk anime. And not any specific one. Talk about some of the ones that I've been watching and have enjoyed across the spectrum. And I was just going to pull up, I have my anime list here pulled up. And I was just going to kind of go from top to bottom and kind of do a quick, I don't know, pitch or non-pitch, depending if they're worth seeing. So I'm not going to do any spoilers.
I was going to say, since most of these I haven't seen, this is kind of fun because you can kind of use me as your viewer. So explain it to me, and then I can kind of go yay or nay if I'm like, okay, that seems like something I might want to watch or not.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'm not everybody, but I'm most people.
Ish. So.
Ish.
Yeah, ish. We'll say, and I'll give a quick,
of course,
basic. I don't even know if I'll give a summary on all of them. Maybe a quick log type line for some of these ones. So, and if there's a second season, I'll just skip later in the future with the first season. But you know, the first one here is actually Assassination Classroom. Definitely one you should watch. It is great. It's a great show. Essentially, it's. Well, it's pretty much classes designed to kill the teacher for reasons that are explained in the show, and it's very entertaining. The characters are great. The teacher is the best. He's an awesome character, and so definitely one I do say is definitely worth seeing. Beastars. This is adult Zootopia, so it's definitely a darker.
Adult Utopia?
No,
Utopia?
No, Zootopia.
Oh,
an
adult zoot. Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So.
Okay.
If you're into furries, this show's for you. We need to finish this one actually. So I haven't finished this one specifically. Definitely an intense show. It's very. It is. Like I said, I would say again, it is adult Zootopia with a high amount of teenage angst. It is an angsty show. Pretty good acting. The story's been pretty solid, but is angsty. Next one, Black Clover. This is your kind of battle shonen one. I like this one. There's a lot of haters on this one, and it's a long. I mean, it's actually hasn't been around very long for how many episodes it has. 123.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's gonna catch up with like Fairy Tail and I don't know what some of the other ones that are long running. They're burning through it pretty fast, which does sometimes drag the story out. There's some battles that you're like, oh my god, can this battle arc end because it's taking so freaking long? Luckily,
is it like a, I don't know if you ever watch it, but is it like extended, kind of like Dragon Ball Z does their battles?
Probably.
It's like 18 episodes.
Oh no,
one fight because it's like 20 they kind of say okay.
Yeah, okay. It's pretty much that. An arc is like
gotcha.
Feels like
it's like there's sometimes I don't mind that, but there's a few times watching Dragon Ball Z where I'm like, just get to the end of the fight with, just kill Nappa. Just get there. Come on, please. I need, let's get to the next thing.
There's a couple episodes like that where you're like, really?
But
let's continue.
I doubt this does have the Dragon Ball Z where it's like 20 minutes of someone just trying to get their Kamehameha and going.
No. Yeah, no, it's not that. And generally, yeah. And generally the characters overall are very good. Asta, who's the lead character, he does have a tendency to yell a lot. He yells a lot. A lot. And then I'd say so that's all I'll say on that. Black Lagoon, I haven't finished the second season, but the first season is very much a adult archer, I should say a serious archer. It's very much nitty-gritty.
I was like, Archer's kind of adult already.
People die. The characters are very aggressive. It's not meant to be a comedy. There's elements that are comedic inside the story, but it is a very dark show, especially the second season. I actually need to continue it, but I had watched the first episode, and it was such a dark episode that I was like, I need a day off from this one. So I need to catch up on that one. It has some very dark topics, but it's the action's in it's great. The characters definitely grow on you. There's definitely some humor in them, and it is very violent. It is very, very violent show. But I would say the first season is great. So second season so far good. Just it is dark. Not one you want. If you want something upbeat, not the show for you. If you want to watch something that has a lot of death and craziness, you might enjoy it. My Hero Academia, we'll just kind of cover the full one. Awesome show. Highly recommend it. If you enjoy superhero / shonen battle series, it's great. Characters are great. I can't say it's a perfect show, but I will say that it's gotten better over time. And I would say the last couple arcs have been really good. So especially I think this is fourth season or fifth season, whatever one we're right now, but definitely worth the watch. And it's actually a pretty fast show because the battles are kind of the opposite of Black Clover style, where you have like 25 episodes dragging to a battle. In this show, other than a few big ones, I think the first season only has like 12 episodes in it, and it has I think 2 or 3 major-ish battles in it. So it's definitely a show.
More fast paced in those battles.
Yeah. It's definitely one that most people enjoy. I mean, it's you can find it on Adult Swim has it on, and definitely one worth watching. It's it does fit pretty well with the American sensibility, even though it's not. It doesn't have anything too out of whack. That there's some shows on here that I'm like Assassination Classroom. It's very very not American storytelling. Where this is much more definitely driven towards the American style of superheroes with the Japanese high level of Japanese character development twist on it. But it's nothing too bizarre that you're like, what is happening here? Which like certain shows do talk about. So moving on, which one is it? Hanagi. Oh yeah, this is your kind of general harem show. It was pretty funny. Essentially, the guy's like, I don't have any friends. So he starts a group with another girl to make friends. And then obviously, slowly, his only friends are a group of 8 attractive women or something like that. So it's definitely, and each one has that different personality type style show. It's not bad. I mean, I gave it a 7 because 7 to me is like, it's watchable. It's silly. It's silly. It's not meant to be like highbrow.
I gotcha.
But it was fun. Charlotte, this one I do recommend. Like that one, the previous one there, the Friends one, like it's a take it or leave it if you like the harem style kind of silly shows, the characters and stuff. But Charlotte is really good because it kind of starts off with a certain take on the story, and then the story kind of goes sideways halfway through, and you're like, whoa. Actually, I say it goes sideways like 2/3 through, and all of a sudden the story you're watching.
Am I seeing this is only 13 episodes?
There are only 13 episodes.
Altogether?
Yeah, it's a pretty easy watch.
So it's kind of something you can get through quicker then.
Yeah, and this one definitely has the I won't say weird, but that kind of very much anime thing where things kind of escalate on a level that you're like, I wasn't expecting that kind of escalation.
Gotcha.
I would say the ending is a little fast. I could definitely have enjoyed maybe 2 or 3 more episodes in the ending. This actually would translate pretty cool to a movie, I think. Given the ending and what happens in it. But yeah, I think they could have extended out the episode. They only did 13 episodes. I think they could have even done the 26, 25 standard episode series inside of it. But because the ending was a little rushed, though it's satisfying. It does have a conclusion. It does go places. So that's not bad. Chrono Crusaders. This is an older show. This is pretty much I guess you could say almost an angel and a demon teaming up, inside of space. It has kind of a faux Catholic type thing over it with the aesthetics of 1920 because that's when they're in. So it's kind of the 1926 mixed with kind of a general battle character driven. Have not finished the show completely, but it is quite pretty good so far. I do like the characters. It does have that early 2000s kind of stylings to it with some of the character designs and some of the things, but I do like the characters. So I haven't finished the show completely, but so far it's enjoyable. It's a good little like chill watch. Some of these are just chill watches. You don't watch something and you're like, cool, I don't want to have to overthink it, but it's still good.
Well, that's what's nice. Sometimes you get a long epic that, like you said, 175 episodes or longer, and it's just this massive, like epic tale, pretty much placed in anime style, with it. And then there's other ones that are just like, this is a great little single book, and it gives you the story that you want. Everything's brought pretty together, and you feel happy at the ending, or you feel complete.
So far this one I would consider, it's definitely one you could throw into the list because some of these ones are pretty good. Code Geass. I've not finished the full show, but it is definitely a show. It is good, worth watching. It is definitely a show where the character has repercussions happen to them that you're like, holy crap, did that just happen? And there's a couple parts in there that the gut punch is, you can feel it just because what happens to the character, you're like, oh God, that is a nightmare. Like there's a couple things like that. It's been very good. It's definitely a thinking show in the sense of you're trying to figure out what's happening in it sometimes, but not in like a confusing show. I have a show later on that's like that. But in a more, what's the strategy? The strategy of the show. Where's the show going? What's the players up to? That kind of thing. So it's pretty solid. Darwin's Game. It is your battle royale in real life sucked into a video game show. There's a couple shows on here like that, but it is pretty much that the character gets sucked into a video game inside of real life, essentially, and it's battle royale. And I haven't finished the season because this full season wasn't out due to some of the stuff being with the coronavirus stuff. So the dub wasn't fully out. I could have went back and watched the sub, but I was rewatching the dub. So far, it's actually quite interesting. It was actually interesting little take on it. I would say it's worth watching so far. How heavy are the dumbbells that you lift? I have to finish this one, but so far, like I've only watched the first 3 episodes, but it was freaking hilarious. Not gonna lie, there was a couple things where like one of the characters makes fun of their teacher about for being old, and like the reaction to it is pretty much like, I will murder you, and it's definitely meant for like, it's sight gag. It's pretty funny so far. I need to finish it, but
okay,
it falls into that like one season cute arc, cute girls, cute arc. Aw. Fairy Tail. I like Fairy Tail. I know there's a lot of haters to Fairy Tail, but I really like Fairy Tail. I will say the power system is crap. It is truly the power system of friends and love and willpower pretty much decide who wins the battle most of the time.
Hey, I mean, it works for Hal Jordan, right?
Pretty much.
Lantern, so
it is pretty much the willpower show when it comes to magic. However, the characters are excellent. And when it comes to, especially when it comes to balance of female and male characters, the show actually has female characters that actually are awesome and powerful in it. In fact, Urza is quite an awesome character. She's top tier waifu material. So all around great show, great characters in that one. That's what makes the show. Honestly, we talked about this before. I would say, and this is not a spoiler, but if I had to be dropped into pretty much any anime universe, Fairy Tail would be definitely in my top 3. And it might even be the number 1. I'd have to like look at every single one to be like, which one would you pick? But
right,
Fairy Tail is a pretty great universe inside of the space because the camaraderie of the characters. Obviously you'd be friends with the characters in that space. You're not like some random person off in the distance. In sense of like you're dropped into it.
Hey guys, I just showed up here.
Yeah, or you at least make friends. You show up and like, we'll make friends with you guys type thing.
Right, right.
They're definitely the group that you want to be friends with because they're actually good friends to each other, even if they're like the rivalry can be kind of crazy, but the characters like each other legitimately and will like pretty much lay their lives down for each other. So pretty great.
Right. So they'll beat each other, as friends there, but you come after them and you're gonna face the horns,
yes,
kind of thing.
Pretty
it's
much.
Like,
pretty much.
Hey, he's my brother. Only I can make fun of him, not you.
Pretty
not
much.
You.
Pretty much. So that's pretty solid. So yeah, Fairy Tail is. Again, it does fall into the longer battle stuff, and some of the battles kind of rage on. But again, it's one of those shows that it's done now. It has like 275 episodes or something like that, so you don't have to watch all at once. But it's very enjoyable. Full Metal Panic. This is pretty good actually. I actually would say the biggest downside of this show is the actual female character that's the lead like love interest in her. She's kind of awful as a person to the main guy, the character thing. She definitely fits like the tsundere mold that they're going for, but she has like no arc so far in the show. They're doing another season, a 3rd season. But like the show itself is actually pretty enjoyable and funny. And some of the premise is interesting in it. It's kind of a battle mech, battle robot show.
Okay. Yeah.
But, and I overall liked it, but I will say, I really wish that the lead girl would develop a little more, because sometimes she says things that are just like And I get it. It's kind of like that, like, punish me, step on me type thing that some people like. And I get that's what her character thing is, but maybe it's me. I don't find that as a thing. So when it's always in it, I'm like, I don't need that. So, like I said, but overall, not bad. Which one was this? Oh, The Eighth Son. Are you kidding me? I just started watching that one. It's silly, and it's I woke up in another world with magic, and I'm really powerful.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the classic.
I enjoy anime for the fact that sometimes they do just be a story of like, why don't we just drop someone in some random place, give them powers, and it's a story. And you're like, you know what? Americans would do that, and they'd be like, I don't know what to do. What do you? What
it is definitely.
Do you mean they have the Force? And you're like, no, this isn't Star Wars. And they're like, what do you mean? I can just take someone and put them into a different reality and just give them something that makes. I can't do that. That doesn't fit my normal style of A plus B equals C. Thanks, American writer.
Right. Yeah. No. It is. It is relatively. So far, it's a relatively generic isekai with the twist on it that he's the eighth son and brothers, and it really doesn't apply to the story past where I'm at, like the third episode. Pretty much, he's like, you're the worst of the family because you're the youngest, so your life kind of sucks, and he ends up being like by far the most powerful. So he's already like surpassed his entire family now in like the third episode. So it's kind of one of those. It's like the gimmick is like one of those ones where like, oh, okay, let's see if it's fun. And the characters haven't done enough development yet to really know if they're likable. But again, I would call it generic isekai. Not bad, nothing special so far. Which one was this? Oh, The Devil's a Part-Timer. This is actually pretty funny. This is a show everyone wants another season to, and it does deserve another season. He's essentially, I mean, the quick summary, a devil from the other universe, which is like the demon lord of another universe, pops into ours, has limited powers, and essentially starts working for McDonald's because he's like, life here is relaxing.
Why not?
He's like, life here is easy. And it's actually pretty freaking funny, actually. I will
Nice.
Yeah. That one, if you want a good comedy, that one's worth it. And you know, everyone wants a second season, and after watching it, I was like, yep, I see why.
I can see why.
It definitely deserves another season for that one. What's next here? Oh, Cells at Work. This was actually pretty good too. This is like essentially it's the human body isekai. Well, not even that. It's the human body in the world it's the characters are living in the human body. So all this blood cells are like cute anime girls and guys.
Okay, so it's like anime Osmosis Jones.
Yes.
Do you remember that show? Yeah.
I do. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So it does actually a pretty good job of I will say on an educational level, other than sometimes gratuitous amounts of Tarantino level blood in the show, it's actually quite educational.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's I enjoyed it. It was actually, and we watched it during the coronavirus stuff, and I was like, how funny. I wish more people watched this because they'd be like, oh, that's how the body works. And it would have been interesting.
Oh.
Right. Hatenata Illusion. This one's pretty bad. I watched some of it and I thought it was going to get better because they had like interesting magical chemicals, but the characters just got worse so far. And now as you can tell, when the average score is a 5.38 on here,
yeah,
you know it's not doing too well, and yeah, it's pretty rough. I probably will never finish that one, to be honest, because like it's one of those ones that you're like, oh, no excitement. So
you start watching it, then you're like, I'm never gonna come back to that.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Chitaka, the Coffin Princess, or Ika, I forgot Chikika. They call it. They always say her name, but she has like this bird, like French accent in the show. Interesting show because it definitely has kind of its message is a little bit like what's the meaning of life, I guess, a little bit message to it inside of it.
Okay.
It's interesting. I would say I enjoyed watching. I kind of burned through it pretty quick. I think there are 2 seasons. Prequel. No, there's only like 1 season. There's only 10 episodes. Yeah. Maybe I didn't watch the second season. Prequel. What's this? I'll have to check which ones I watched. I need to update that. Anyway, it's not bad. I mean, it's one of those ones. It's take it or leave it. Nothing too crazy. but it's pretty much a demon lord has died and people don't want him to come back, and people have his body parts and someone's collecting them. So it's interesting.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, Hunter x Hunter. This is definitely a you should watch. Now, this is the opposite system of magic that Fairy Tail has, as this one has more rules than I can count. And they do right pretty much to the rules mostly. Obviously, there's still always a little bit of like willpower makes things better.
Right.
But the overall element of it is pretty solid. And the characters are great. There's some really good characters in it. This is one that I'll probably let Asher watch as he gets older, to be honest. This is a pretty good one. There's nothing too scandalous in it that I can think of. The characters are great. There's some, and there, I'll tell you, there's some epic flexes in here that, and you can see the show's at 9.12.
Yeah,
it is ranked number 4. And it is great. There's a character in here, and his flex level, man. I don't even want to say who it is because I'm like, but the flex, some of the flexes in this show are like epic flexes. You're like, did he just do that? You're like, yep, he just did that. So that's pretty good. Definitely that is definitely add to the list. It's good. Infinite Dinogram. It's not over yet. It's playing in a video game world. It's not that you're isekai'd into it, but that you log into it every day and you play the video game and there's a story inside of it. And that's all I know so far because I haven't finished it. They kind of hint there's more layers to it than that, and possibly you're not actually in a video game, that you're actually tapping into another world, maybe. So we'll see. I haven't got that far.
Interesting.
But the characters are not bad. Again, I have to see where it finishes before I can say, yes, that's a must-see or not. It's okay.
Right.
Because a lot of times the endings of these shows can be where they suffer. So, Isekai Cheat Magician. Another show where a person is isekai to another universe and is exceptionally powerful. Pretty much sums it up. It's pretty funny, but yeah, it's not like a must-see. Isekai Quartet. I haven't watched this one. I think I watched the first episode. Essentially, isekai is a bunch of characters from their different universes that were isekai themselves. So it has characters that were transported from other universes. Now they're transported into this third, like, cutesy, chibi universe. So I haven't watched it, but it seems
like it might be a little fan servicey.
It's definitely meant to be silly. Like, I don't say fan service because that means something different, but definitely meant to be like, haha, this character from this story is interacting with, the overlord from this story. How will they interact? Right, okay. That kind of stuff.
I gotcha.
Ooh, this one's pretty good. Restaurant to Another World. This is one of those ones. There's probably 2 or 3 on the list that fall into this thing of feel-good, relaxing anime. These are the ones that you can throw on before bed, and they tell you a sweet, cute little story. Sometimes with a little poignant element to them, little poignant moment in it. But a lot of it, and this one's literally this little restaurant moves to a different part of the universe, like different worlds. So like some days he'd be like in Middle Earth, next day he's in a different part of Middle Earth, another days in like different areas of Middle Earth, let's say. And so people are like, and it magically appears, but he's on Earth. The restaurant's Earth, so like the portal. And so he's serving food to different entities, and they're like, "What's your favorite thing?" They're like, "Oh my god, this onion thing is amazing because it doesn't exist in our world," type stuff.
Okay, I gotcha.
So he makes really good food.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's just each episode's own little micro story with the 4 different characters in it, from their story of like when they found the restaurant. It's pretty cute. The reviewers one, mostly a joke because this is literally the closest to hentai that was ever released. Essentially, the characters review having the devil's tango with other types of creatures and rate how it is from their perspective.
That's bad.
It's pretty bad. I was amazed that it actually went through. It was supposed to be on. They blocked it, and I felt bad for the voice actors. I'm like, oh man, they were probably having so much fun with this. But anyway,
they probably did, yeah.
Because they were just
probably getting some huge chuckles out of that.
Totally. So I don't want to get hurt, so I'm maxing out defense. This is another video game show where they're in a video game, playing a video game in the world. This is essentially cute girls doing cute things in a video game, but there is a guy or 2 in it, and essentially she becomes a god tier character in her little video game world. So Definitely just a cute, funny background show again. It's of the ones, it's one of the better ones because the characters interact in a pretty cute and fun way. So not bad.
Okay.
It's cute. It's definitely cute, right? Which isn't a bad thing. Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. Essentially, they're in a school that has, I think it's based off some like Japanese fairy tales type stuff, but essentially they're in a school and it has essentially different like supernatural elements inside of it. And he interacts with this girl who wants a wish, and then she kind of becomes somewhat bound to him. So they do on little weird adventures. Has a very interesting animated style. You can kind of see it with the characters, how they look. Let's see. They're drawn very much like this. They're not a typical anime style drawing. I mean, it still fits in it, but I don't know what the different styles are caused, but it's a little different style the way it's done. It has kind of sharp, strong edges, very strong edges in a lot of it. The characters are pretty good so far. It's interesting. I don't know where it's finishing yet, but it seems not bad. I'll start going a little faster here, so not to go through too long. Tale of the Princess Kaguya. This is a movie by the Studio Ghibli. It's okay. It's a very slow, long watch, to be honest. Like, it's very pretty, but it's a long, slow watch.
What else does Ghibli do?
Oh, lots of them.
No, have they done like the Howl's Moving Castles and stuff?
Yes.
Is that them as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I was saying, like, whereas you said kind of a slow, then I was like, oh, that fits that.
But this one,
it's one of those ones where it's like you have to sit back and kind of.
Yes, take some time. I will say this makes Howl's Moving Castle feel like a Michael Bay film.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tower of God. This is a new show. Very highly regarded so far. I have only seen the first couple episodes. It is your dungeon show, but I will say the character motivations so far are interesting in it, and the characters are interesting so far, and it will be interesting to see where the show goes. Like I said, it's ranked very well. People have really liked it, but it is a dungeon crawler style show. And if you reach the top of the tower, you get a wish of anything from God. So, it's so far, but I have enjoyed it so far. Kachuga. If I butcher names, forgive me. I'm terrible with saying some of these things. I've seen a couple of these. It's interesting. It's just kind of a historic anime drama. That's all I can say on it. Eureka 7. I need to finish this one. I have only a couple episodes left. It's a little angsty. It's essentially boy loves girl who's something more than she knows she is, but you're kind of set on a battle mech drama. Overall, character's pretty good. Has some arc in it. It's definitely not a... the only thing I'll say in it, the biggest drawback on the show is, oh my God, admit you like each other and let's move on type thing with the characters. It does pull that a little bit there. But it's overall it's pretty good. It has a unique in it. Inspector, actually so far I've enjoyed this one. Essentially it's a immortal boy who can kind of come back to life, and essentially like a special princess that can talk to the different spirit creatures in the world, and they try to solve battles or solve things for other spirits from spiritual evil things. So
interesting. Okay, so like private eyes of spirits kind of thing.
Yeah. They're inspectors.
I mean, I was gonna say it's called Inspector. So
yeah.
Like, okay, I think I get your wordplay here.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. Let's see, which one's this? Oh, Horizon in the Middle of Nowhere. This is the show that makes no sense. This show,
This is the show that you're talking about?
Yeah, this show makes no sense. Like, at the end of it, I was kind of able to understand what's happening, but essentially, like, I think because I don't know the names of the countries and different provinces they're using in it, but essentially the premise of the show is an advanced human alien slight race is sent back to Earth, and to figure out where they went wrong in history, they're replaying history with advanced things. So like people themselves are like countries, and they're like, you must die now because you lost the war at this point in time.
Oh, okay.
So
interesting.
So it's really confusing because they just throw 1,000 names out, and like the students are like the leaders. Like only students can be the leaders of the government, and yeah, they have magic and they fight with high powered stuff, and yeah, There's a little bit of fan service, but nothing too crazy. But it's very, very confusing. Okay. Like hilariously, like if you read the comments for most of the episodes, I was watching on VRV. Most of the comments are, I have no idea still what's happening in this show, and I'm on the 6th episode out of like 13, and I'm like, I'm glad that I'm not the only one, because
I'm good I'm not alone.
I feel like the only reason I kept watching is because it was, even though it was confusing, it was at least somewhat entertaining enough to go, I hope I'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah, right. It's like, maybe at the end I'll get this.
So
I'll figure it out.
There's some couple things in it that like, you're like, this dialogue is so bad sometimes. But yeah, it's silly. It's definitely a silly show. So yeah. Log Horizon. This is pretty good. This is another isekai show. This was one of the older kind of OG ones. I need to finish the last season, but so far it's a good show. The characters are good. Has little story arcs. The only thing I'll say, it has a little bit of that element of, darn it, you have these two characters that really like each other, and this one's really cute, and the other guy is too oblivious to notice, and you're like,
oh.
But overall, it's pretty good.
They love, it's funny. They do love doing that.
I know, and we do it too in our media too. We do it in our media too. It's one of those ones.
Ours is always so ours is so annoying because ours.
They do it better. At least the character.
Wait until you get to them, because you know what it comes down to for the American ones. Wait until the movie, and then we'll probably finally make it happen. Kind of thing. It's like you know what I mean. It's like always like, oh, okay, I know it's gonna get there at some point. They just go through 10 seasons of like, just kiss the darn girl.
Yeah,
like,
a little bit of that.
Ron Possible and Kim Possible, or like Ron whatever, Ron and Kim from Kim Impossible. You're like, dude, we know you like each other, and you have to wait until they finally do the time travel movie where she's like, oh, you like me, Ron? And you're like, you freaking think?
Yeah, right. Sorcerer Stabber. So the Sorcerer Stabber Orphan, it's magic show, and they have magic, and there's things happening. It's okay. I can't really say much about it. Like honestly, it doesn't really have a great story. We have Spice and Wolf. She's considered one of the top tier wife.
Wolf?
No, Spice and Wolf.
Oh, Spice and Wolf. Okay.
Holo is considered one of the top tier waifus in the world. Essentially, she's very intelligent. She's a goddess of like the harvest, and she's traveling with this gentleman, and they kind of are merchants together, and it's I enjoy it. It's a cute, relaxing show because they're just doing little merchant stuff and being clever and explaining business. And so this is another show. A lot of people
they're not selling cabbages, are they?
They're not selling cabbages, no, but they are selling wheat sometimes.
If they were selling cabbages, they might be in for a bad time,
right? But yeah, it's a pretty good show. I need to finish it. I think I have like 2 episodes left, but the characters are cute in it. A lot of people want our season, and I can see why, because it has a nice kind of feel to it. It's a nice feeling show. So, what do we got next here? Oh, My Next Life is a Villainess. They started this one. It's kind of funny. Okay, this falls into that character of like funny. Essentially, it's another kind of fell into the video game thing. Except for she's not in a video game. She is reincarnated into a world after she dies that is following the same plan as her video game that she was playing. So, and then instead of being the hero that usually is, she's the villain. And she's like, and she knows that in the game, the villain always has a bad ending. Essentially, they get murdered or exiled. And so she's going, okay, these are the characters that ruin my life. How can I actually become best friends with them and make them not want to murder me / execute me?
Interesting. Okay.
And so far, it's pretty funny. I will say, like,
that's an interesting premise for something there.
Yeah.
Like,
so
in
far,
a weird way, knowing the future in that sense. So you're like, well,
you're like, how do I avoid? That's why it's called.
It's like doing a kind of a time travel thing without having to do time travel.
Yeah, no, it's true. So
like,
so far, the characters are good.
I know what's gonna happen, so I can try to fix it. But it's not like, oh, I went in the future.
No, exactly. Speaking of the next show, there is a bit of time travel in this show. Plunderer, interesting show. I will say the bad thing on this show is some of the fan service needs to be toned down in this one. This is one of the few ones that it does fall into the exceptionally aggressive level of fan service a little bit, where characters are a little more aggressive than I think is appropriate, to be honest. Not that I think things should be censored or whatnot, but some of the characters do things, and they have a little bit of the like Meliodas from Seven Deadly Sins.
Yeah.
Amp him up like 3 times.
Oh, okay. I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
Hands go places they really shouldn't, and yeah, I mean they get hit back, but there's humorous
they
fan
make it
service.
pronounced that you're getting to see it.
There's humorous fan service, and then there's things you're like, that's past the boundary of appropriate,
right?
Things. So that's the biggest downfall. Radiant, magic show. Kid wants to see more magic. Ends up being pretty powerful inside of a space. Samurai Champloo, you've actually finished this one, right?
Correct.
So solid show. I have to finish it. Is it a must see?
It'd be tough to maybe put it as like a must see, but I definitely think
It's a worth see.
It's worth seeing. You'll get to the end of it and go, oh, it's another one where it's just like it's another. It's a little bit longer than some of those other like 13 episode ones. It is the one.
26. That's good. Yeah.
So you get there at the end of it, and you're happy. You're happy that you went through the journey. I'll put it that way. It's like maybe is it not a must see? No, but once you start it and then you get to the end, you go, I'm very happy I watched this.
Got it. Okay. Cool. Next one is Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan is definitely if you like horror anime and violence, it's a great one. All 3 seasons have a different feel. They're going to be on their last season, so they actually will finish the story arc inside the show.
Have you seen the trailer for it?
I have not. I'll have to pull that up. Don't spoil it. I will check it out. But I will say that the show is very good. It is a different type of show. That's for sure. Because each season has its own kind of feel to it. I will say it is worth it because so far where it's gone, it does explain almost everything inside of it so far without ruining the end kind of story. But yeah, definitely this is one if you enjoy it. Now I will say it is graphic and it is very graphic and not just like Tarantino style blood, but like straight up people get eaten inside of the show and they don't hesitate to show it. So it is it's not even so much the graphic. It's just like
they don't pull any punches, and when there is death or something happens, there isn't like let me kind of cut away, but there's a lot of blood. It's like, no, you're gonna see it, you're gonna feel it, and you're like,
it's a visually brutal show. So next one is Food Wars. Oh yeah, Food Wars is awesome. Food Wars is hilarious because first of all, it is every cooking show at the highest level turned into school. It is your high school that acts more like a country with the battles over food. There's wars. I mean, obviously it's the food wars, but like essentially you get to challenge people to it, like different things, a cook-off. Essentially there's cook-offs and there's huge levels of battle and things are involved. And I will say the most hilarious thing about the show, and I had to check this, but I heard that the show is actually, the people that designed it did adult animated material prior to doing this show. Ew. And it shows because the way that the characters express them liking food is their clothes exploding off of them. And that happens quite a lot. Now, granted, they don't show anything. This isn't one of the ones actually showing that. They do keep it at PG-14 or whatnot. But there's the joke of the meme where they're like, mom walks in, what are you watching? It's Food Wars. And the shot is like pretty much 5 naked women on the screen.
A woman.
With strategically placed like
cups and cones or food particles or something. Yeah, exactly.
But it is pretty freaking. But the show itself, the characters are great. It's freaking hilarious though too. So definitely that one's, if you want something, it makes you hungry watching the show. I said, don't watch an episode because they do. I mean, they do like 5-minute breakdowns on why the food is so delicious, and they're like, this thing was so fluffy, and they sauteed the flavors, and then the spicing was magical. I will say that the level of like the product design to make the food sexy,
the level of food porn,
A+. Yeah, no, it's pretty freaking hilarious. Steins Gate. Excellent show, must see. I have to finish the second season, which is a whole new arc. Too. But the first season is some of the best done time travel paradox fixing shows. I think you'd say probably one of the best ones ever. Even compared to Doctor Who, because Doctor Who breaks a lot of rules. Steins Gate does a pretty good job of trying to keep paradoxes to a minimum and fixing them. So pretty solid. I would say if you like time travel in a story and great characters, all the characters are pretty solid in it too. It's good. Definitely watch it. Desert Punk is the next one. Desert Punk is very much your early 2000s. I think it was early 2000s. It was late 90s. early mid 2000s, 2004, adult show where they're essentially in a dystopian future and, dystopian future, and there's boobies because the guy really likes boobies, and so that's all he thinks about pretty much, and so. Yeah, and
whatever.
That's what he does. It's a little more than that, but it's a lot of the premise.
It's at this point, after how much, I haven't even watched that much anime, but at least at this point, it's
you're
whatever.
Right.
It's like one of my favorite characters is Saitama who just wears the shirt that says Opie for tits. It's like whatever. At this point,
right? There's a little. They like those. Sword Art Online. So this is probably one of the most controversial anime shows out there. And not because of so much controversy inside of it, though there are some specific scenes that do cause controversy. There's people who either love it or hate it. It's a very divisive show, generally. I would say I fall into the first season I actually overall enjoyed. The second season I thought actually was better. The current arc, which is the Alicization arc that's happening right now, which is this one that you see on the screen there. I actually hate this arc right now. I need to finish. I hate this arc. Maybe it'll wind up being better because it actually ends up being this arc, and then there's 2 other arcs after it, which is part of this arc. So it's almost like 3 seasons of the storyline. I
gotcha.
And so let's say this part 1 of the storyline I found exceptionally boring. Maybe, and I was watching it week to week. Some of these shows I feel like they do get better when they watch them. There's a show later on that we'll talk about, but I do sometimes feel that they get better when you watch them fast, but week to week. And so at least watching it week to week, it was so boring. I'm like, oh my God. Compared to what the show was before, where it was kind of like, I don't know. So hopefully I'll finish this one up and then watch the new season, which is the part 1 of out the war arc, and hopefully better. They always have some interesting ideas in the Sword Art Online universe, because essentially you're trapped in a game, and if you try to get out, you die, or you die in the game, you die in real life type premise. So I actually like the characters in it. I know Kirito is considered the ultimate. He's the main guy. Is considered the ultimate. He is the ultimate male Mary Sue, and a lot of people critique it. And he's the one I always throw back to when people are like, nobody critiques a male for being a Mary Sue, and I'm like, Kirito. Everyone
presents you evidence.
Yeah, so he's and relatively worthy of it. So magical senpai. Essentially, this girl tries to do magic and always does something embarrassing in between that. So I haven't finished it because it was just meh. It was meh.
Kind of a little corny.
It's really corny. The Tenchi Mui universe, really good actually. It's a early 90s show. It was actually really good. This is one I was showing you guys that they stole Halo from.
Right. Okay, yeah.
And I say steal Halo, I don't know, but they actually have the Halo material. They have a Halo ring inside the show and some other stuff. That is very sci-fi. I would say it's actually one of the best or one of the better realized sci-fi universes inside of the space. It's really good. Turn the lights back on there. It's really good. It's definitely, it's an early harem show. It's your early beginning, which actually kind of works to its advantage now, because since the characters predate some of the current stereotypes for the harem, not every character matches.
Feels fresher.
Yeah, there's a little level of freshness, even though it is the root. But sometimes the stereotypes are so locked to this is a tsundere personality. This is the cutesy little one, type. Or some of the ones are so locked in. That
this one still plays a little fast and loose with some of that.
The little loose, yes, and the characters are pretty funny in the show, and it's meant to be funny. Ryuko is freaking best girl in the show. The Washu is kind of interesting too, and it has a great scale thing because essentially it gets to a god tier level of story plot stuff. So have to figure out how to watch in order because this order is very confusing. Just go on my anime list and figure out the order to watch them in because otherwise it's very confusing. As you can see from adaptation, alternate version, side off thing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's a very complex thing. So,
gosh.
The way they're broken down on Funimation also doesn't make sense. So, if you watch it, Chris, let me know. I'll tell you which ones to watch on there.
Okay. Yeah. I'll probably be reaching out to you.
Start which one to watch because if you have to watch the right one. First, otherwise you're like, what? Because the way it breaks it down is that there was actually like a season and a movie and then a season, but they all show them all in the correct order, but it's one season on Funimation, but there is a second season with a different name. So.
Okay, I gotcha.
But I think actually, yeah, Rio, actually this is the second season. I think the previous one, no, it isn't it's complicated. It's complicated,
okay,
but
yeah.
If you like the kind of the comedy sci-fi, but I will say the sci-fi is top notch. The one thing, even if you the sci-fi in this show is legitimately one of the best, like using technology in it. I would love to see a show use technology like this show uses it, where it's like, oh, this person can transport through walls without being a deal. She does it on a random basis. Oh, they can teleport to their ship. No big deal. They don't even like have to explain it. They're like, oh, this character has a Doctor Who style, like bigger on the inside type door. Don't have to do a big old thing about it. They just characters like, yep, cool. They're super advanced aliens.
This is what it is. This is the world you're in.
Yep. So I will say that's pretty solid. So I'll run these together. This show, certain scientific railgun, actually pretty good characters in the show. It's based off the parent story here, which is what do they call it? It's the certain magical index. Overall, I like the show.
Oh, okay.
I need to watch the new season, which I heard was a little underwhelming. It's a spinoff of that one. It's pretty good. It's one of those ones, if you're watching the universe of the Index one, it's worth watching if you enjoy that universe. It's a cool universe. I will say it's a pretty cool story universe where essentially there's magic and technology, essentially, where or technology-based abilities and then magical-based abilities, and they kind of don't agree with their styles. So,
I gotcha.
It's pretty good. I will say it's enjoyable. The whole universe has so far been pretty enjoyable. There's some really interesting characters, some interesting character motivations inside of it, and some bizarre stuff too, which is pretty cool. Like interesting bizarre stuff. Tokyo Ravens. We're watching this one. Not bad. It's kind of a cutesy show with magic.
Okay.
It's like modern magic. It'd be like if you took some of the magic that usually is in the shows and like usually the ancient days or kind of your fantasy world and took the magic system and put it into modern Tokyo. So far pretty good.
Gotcha.
This one is a must-see, and that is, well, actually, it's the original one. So there's 2 seasons. The first season is the one to definitely watch, which is $21.99. Star Blazers. Yeah, this one I told Philip to watch. Definitely, this one is really good, and it does a good job in the sense of like enemies and pacifism, but also sometimes you can't just be pacifistic in situations. It's definitely, I put that one as a must-see. Got it in the sense of the story. Super good. We probably won't hit all my lists, by the way, so we'll probably wrap up here in an hour, and then we'll do maybe a part 2 later on of this, because we can keep going too long. I know I'm talking the most, but we're just discussing it. Didn't I say make my abilities average in the next life? Didn't I say make my abilities average in the next life? Long title. I will say the show's hilarious. It is definitely the isekai where the character is overpowered in the next world. But in this one, they actually make the reason hilarious because essentially when God puts her into this other world, she's like, just make me average. And God's like, so humans this magic and the highest level of all beings in this universe is here. I'll put you right here, which makes her essentially
still higher than whatever the universe she's being put in.
Which is, well, inside of her own, inside of that universe. But essentially, since the average of those puts her more powerful than almost every other being other than the highest being, because the average works out because the highest one is so high that literally she's more powerful than almost
it's still kind of slanting it past, like it's like having a box and whisker graph, and since it's way out there, it's like, yeah, you're kind of changing the data set, so your average is still way up here.
So essentially she's as powerful as like a low level dragon.
Oh, jeez.
Naturally, let alone with training. So, I think they're gonna have another season. I think they're gonna do another season of the show because it's freaking hilarious. There is some interesting stuff that they started lingering at the end, where they're like they might actually just be in the future of our own world. inside the show. Sorry if that's not really a spoiler, but it's not really sure, or they're just teasing us with that kind of stuff because they're like, hee hee, or, you know, something like that. But essentially, she's hilariously powerful, and some of the art direction in it is freaking hilarious. I've sent you the meme on the one when she flies to the girl with the sword.
Oh, yeah.
So this one character says something really creepy at her, essentially like, I'm going to do inappropriate stuff to you, a female character to that, and she's like, nope, and then like essentially dispatches her without, you know, they don't really kill in the show, well, other than tragic backstories, but they don't only tragic backstories to be kill characters in these shows, but essentially she dispatches this character without killing him quite easily, and it's one of the most hilarious meme moments because I sent them the meme of it because like it's hilarious. Anyway, that show's funny. That show's funny. Like, it's not a serious show, but I will say it is funny. Let's see. Next show. The Quintessential Quintuplets. So the premise of the show is the ending shows that he's marrying one of these 5 sisters, but they don't tell you which one. And so the story is the story of how he met them. And I will say, we watched this one recently, and it is freaking adorable. Most of the girls are likable, other than a hardcore tsundere type character. We don't know who he's gonna marry in this first season. They kind of, you know, there's a character that you think is the one that they're gonna have him marry, but then you start going, is it that one later in the season? And then you're kind of like, oh, I hope it's actually this one, because even though like they draw them a little different in like this picture here, you can see, but when they're older, they all look like when they actually want them to look the same, they literally like, oh, now you're identical, because they change their hair, like put a different like
go back to like similar hair and
like literally when one wants they're all identical, because when they do certain things, they're like, yep, you're all identical, and they can't tell. So they kind of like
that way, so you don't get any clue of who he's actually marrying in the end, because you're like, oh, you know what, she's got that pinker hair color, which is like that one in the top, so it must be her, right? They're like, no, we're not going to give you any of that,
and then they're like,
not giving you any clues.
You're like, no, that's just so you can tell the difference of her in the show, and not really like inside of the actual story, because like I said, when she puts a hoodie on, when the hair drops out, they're like, you look the same as your sister type thing. So but it is really cute. I will say this one is if you like cutesy shows with the kind of romantic level to them, it's really good. I know it's and here it says it's a harem show, but it's not really so far. I mean, I guess by the rules of a guy with 5 girls around him,
right?
It does, but it's more him developing friendships with all them and developing and understanding them, because he's trying to tutor them, develop friendships / trust with them on a actually like positive level. So I thought it was actually a really good show. Let's see.
Nice. Do we want to leave it there, since now we've kind of gone through the
couple more? We'll do a couple more and then we'll pop off. Let me see here. Absolute Duo. This one's okay. This is just, you know, this is your 2 characters and some girls around them. What's the main thing is they're like power based upon it. I can't really give you the breakdown. It's okay. Nothing too special. It's one of those ones that if you want to watch it, it falls into it's easy enough to watch. Nothing bad, nothing offensive. It's just like, but nothing that's like, oh my god, that was a cool element.
Right.
Let's see where we'll stop.
Wow, I got to.
Let me see where we'll stop here. We'll stop at Aquarian. Yeah. So, let's see. Akame ga Kill. I will say, without giving spoilers, worth the watch. I will say the first episode's amazing, and the show overall was really good. And a character at one point says, I wish I spent more time with you guys. And I felt the same. And that's all I'll say. Because it's good. It's good. Akira. This is definitely a must-see if you want to watch good anime movies. It is definitely, I would call especially being it was done in 1988. It was definitely an 80s take on superheroes / power ability set and a kind of a dystopian future. It is the one they keep talking about making a movie for forever, and unless someone who actually wants to be true to the source material and not try to do a Hollywood adaptation, I would hope they stay away from it because it's overall pretty solid. Now, there is some stuff in it. It is not the easiest watch on the same level. It is very confusing in some places. But I think a good adaptation, especially if it stays more true to the manga, actually, would be really good, though. So it's definitely it kind of falls into the Neon Genesis Evangelion story arc, where actually it's better than that one, but it falls into the space of that it's a must-see in the sense of if you want to be an anime, like see more anime and kind of ones that you should see to kind of understand kind of the art of it. But it's also not the easiest one to watch. Last couple ones here. All Noah Zero. Started out with a good premise and goes downhill from there.
Bummer.
Especially the second season. Mostly because the character motivation stopped making sense. The characters make decisions that fall down like, oh, this character starts down the good path. This character starts in the bad path. But then you're like, why the F is this character doing that? Like, doesn't even make sense for what they're trying to do.
Oh, okay.
And then...
That's a bummer.
I'll do the last two. So Aquarian Evolve, it ties into another arc story, which I actually need to watch, which was, what was the prequel? It's the earlier show. I actually need to watch it. I watched that order accidentally. I didn't realize there was a different thing, which doesn't mean, the Aquarian. It didn't really hurt the show. In some ways, actually, it might have been better because you don't know what the characters' motivations are totally, and they kind of explain everything in it. So it is kind of its own package. What was this one done? 1995. Yeah, 2005. It's your mech battle type thing. Characters have powers, and there's much more happening behind the scenes than you realize type stuff. Yeah.
I think you missed a Natsu.
Oh, that's Assassination Classroom, the first season.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
that's right. I know. Sometimes it's hard to click on some of these ones.
Sometimes I'm like, what is that? And you're like, oh, Assassination Classroom. I'm like, oh yeah.
So last one.
That's how it's spelled. That's how you say it.
Actually, to make this last one, let's see. Do I have any good? Oh, okay. This will be last two because we're not going to end on a low note. We'll end on a high note. So
fair enough.
We'll end on a high note. So Arfueda, from Commonplace to World's Strongest. This is the show that is hilarious if you're not thinking about it. So essentially, he is not very strong, gets stuck in a dungeon, and gains a level of power. And the biggest problem with the show actually is that it was only a 13 season, and they essentially squeezed, from what I read in comments, they squeezed essentially what should be about 4 seasons worth of material inside of this story.
Oh man!
So battles that like other shows, like especially like Black Clover would have like 20 episodes to do, they finish in half an episode. and the character
we got a lot to get to.
And the character's kind of a jerk off, but he's kind of hilarious too. Like it's one of those shows that like I don't know if they're trying to be fully serious with it. There's another one later on we'll get to where it's like that falls in that space. But overall, if you watch the show, don't take it seriously. Laugh at it because it is meant to laugh at because
it's meant to be. It's meant to.
Yeah, because I think the actual source material was serious, but this interpretation is I think definitely meant to be like. And I will say what's also funny, it does have some of the worst CGI villains ever. Like there's a dragon or something.
Really?
Yeah, when they're compositing in there and they're like, and like the CGI is so like CGI that you're like, oh god, oh my god, like. Literally everyone just laughs at the CGI. I wish they showed some of the CGI stuff on here. But they actually like people literally just like make fun of the CGI stuff because it's like what? Who approved this?
Doing?
Who approved this? So yeah. And then the last show, this one, I think I've told you to watch this one. Cat Planet Cuties. This show's hilarious.
Oh, okay, yes.
This show's hilarious. This is one of the most hilarious. Like, when was it done? When was this show done? 2010. Okay. This show is like, I guess it's almost a counterpoint to like the Tenchi Moyu show. It is the most hilarious like harem show ever. Because essentially cat girls come to Earth but their technology is hilarious and everything they do is hilarious. And there's some nudie scenes in it, but that's not why it's hilarious. It's like
cats, whatever.
The character the characters do things that are freaking hilarious, and the ending is even more hilarious. And they even break the fourth wall a couple times in it to make fun of stuff in it. And I swear the dog character that you see in the thing here, I swear you're supposed to see like a making fun of like the American cartoon with the dog that goes, you know what I'm talking about? Like because the dog does this.
Muttley.
Yeah, he does the same thing in the show. Like he laughs. All the dog does is laugh. And so
that's probably exactly what they're trying to do. That is making fun of old Muttley.
If you can, if you want to watch a harem anime, this is one to watch. Like this is, I think this one is probably one of the best ones next to, which we'll get to, the High School DxD later on. It's not as adult as High School DxD. It's not as adult as High School DxD, but it's freaking. This one just, like I said, this one just cracks me up because, like, give you an example. They're like, oh, well, we have bullets, and they're like, well, we don't want to hurt people because we're peaceful people. They're like, so we use an antimatter that only affects things that are non-organic. So what happens when your clothing gets bulletized with antimatter bullets that only affect clothing? I wonder. And so, yeah, that happens more than once in the show. But it's also hilarious. Of course. It's also hilarious, too, because like I said, it's funny. Like I said, this is one of those shows that truly cracked me up. I do need to
get this just to get some good crack ups here.
It's freaking, it's funny. So that's our wrap up on, well, I haven't got through a third of the list. I didn't want to kill it. So I know it's a long list, but it's fun to talk about the different shows. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll be doing a part 2 here sooner than later. So hopefully this week I'll do another part 2 on this one, continue on. Hopefully these recommendations, really short ones, obviously, at least give you some shows to add to your list of things to watch and shows to enjoy. So hope you like and subscribe this video, and we'll see you next time.